I'm ready.
Okay, I'm Maddie Mosley. This is Com 110 and Informative Speech. The 1960s was a time of change and revolutionized social movements that shaped the way that society looked at certain issues in American culture. According to the Princeton Press, culture is not just something that movements have, it is something they do. What movements do with culture is just as important as the culture they have. Three of these social movements that changed the culture that society has today includes the anti-war movement, the civil rights movement, and the women's rights movement. These three social movements not only changed society but culture, and specifically music, in the 1960s. One very famous artist that supported this movement was Bob Dylan with the song "With God on Our Side." This specifically was influenced by the anti-war movement. John Lennon with Imagine, Sam Cooke, The Change is Gonna Come, and finally Aretha Franklin, Respect, were all influenced by these social changes. These three social movements had influence not only on these artists, but others as well. Their work impacted society, and it's still visible today, a portrayal of the movements and their activism and support on these movements as well. According to History.com, 2010, many Americans believed that we were not supposed to be at war with Vietnam in the 1960s. It was costly and soldiers were dying and people were opposed. One famous artist, as I mentioned before, was Bob Dylan, who wrote many protest songs that portrayed his feelings throughout this movement. With his song, With God on Our Side, written by Dylan in 1963, he states, "In the 1960s came the Vietnam War. Can someone tell me what we're fighting for? So many young men died, so many mothers cried, now alas was God on our side." A second artist that was very influential, or was influenced by the anti-war movement, was Lennon, John Lennon, the lead singer of the Beatles. With his song Imagine, written in 1971, Lennon states, "Imagine there's no countries, it is hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too, living a life with peace." These lyrics show Lennon and Dylan's feelings towards this subject, and their portrayal of their lyrics show how they felt. A second movement was the Civil Rights Movement. Famous singer and R&B soul singer and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Sam Cooke, with his song "The Change is Gonna Come," written by Cooke in 1964, states, "There's been times when I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to go along. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is going to come. Oh yes, it will." This song shows his stance on the movement and is portrayed through his words and the lyrics of how he felt with the movement as well. Lastly, the women's rights movement. Aretha Franklin, also known as the Queen of Soul, was an activist of women's rights and through her work supported the movement. Franklin wrote Respect in 1967, which is one of her most infamous songs even today. As she states, "I ain't gonna do you wrong while you're gone. Ain't gonna do you wrong, 'cause I don't want it. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you get home." The willpower and independence shown in these lyrics show the willpower and independence needed throughout the women's rights movement, and therefore was portrayed through her lyrics. The 1960s played an influential role in society's reformation and social movements through the anti-war movement, the civil rights movement, and the women's rights movement. These areas of society were areas that people thought they'd never see changed. Activists thrived, and though some people were not supporters, many aspects of society changed regardless. As Bob Dylan states in his song, "The Times They Are Changing," written in 1964, it was the beginning of all the movements, and he writes, "Then you better start swimming, my friends, clearer you'll see, like a stone, for the times they are changing." Thank you.